Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to give you a brief story. Actually, it's a prophecy by Cris Mutsvangwa. He prophesied how ED is going to fall. He called Mr. Munangagwa is going to change his name to Mr. Zig. Indirectly, he was prophesying that Mr. Munangagwa is going to fail with the Zig. So you already got a prophecy. Let me call it a prophecy right now, because it's a sign that will give you that Mr. Munangagwa is failing now. When you see the Zig going down, so you should not be very much worried when Munangagwa is going to crumble and be removed from the throne. It's certain that it will take just a few years for the Zig to fail, and so is Mr. Zig going to fail.
We had our gold reserves. Then the Americans imposed sanctions. As we were short of US dollars, our Reserve Bank governor then, I won't mention the name, these days I'm not mentioning names, engaged in the Arab world. They sell oil. So they sell oil in US dollars, which is what supports what is called the petrodollar. So it was agreed that we exchange our gold reserves then for US dollars. But the transaction to be complete, the Arabs demanded or requested that the gold move from our own vaults outside of the country to where they can see the gold themselves, which our former governor duly obliged. The story gets murky after that, according to the former president. The gold reserves are gone, the US dollars don't come, so he had a very facile explanation.
The next story is Mr. Cris Mutsvangwa explaining to us how we were robbed of our gold reserves. To tell you the truth, I think Zimbabwe had a lot, I think maybe 100 tons of gold in our reserves. But what happens, in the old days, I estimate it to be before 2008, that President Mugabe and the governor was Gideon Garner then. Those guys were under sanctions, so they couldn't get US dollars. You see, fuel was difficult to get those days. So what they did something that's very crazy. Like, you know, when you are running a tuck shop, you have no stock, but you have something of value that you are keeping in your reserves. Then the people ask, so you have something of you are keeping in your reserves that has value? Can you bring it to us? Then we see it. After we see it, then we can confirm we're giving you money, or we can exchange it with you. Then when you go to their territory, they got guns, they got everything, then they rob you. That's what really happened. So I can interpret it in this way. You can see a truck leaving the RBZ with tons of gold. Then you see a plane from that airport raising to an Arab nation carrying the gold, all of the gold from the reserve, all of the vaults. Because to tell you the truth, now in the Reserve Bank there is less than 2 tons of gold. Less than 2 tons of gold. But you hear of people having more than 23 tons of gold, like Scott Sapanya, that's the tag. And you hear other people having thousands and thousands of tons of gold, but the nation doesn't have even 2 tons of gold in their reserves. So what really happened is that they shipped the gold to an Arab country, then the Arab country put them in a secret place, robbed the gold, and didn't give them the money. So it's so crazy. I'll give you another story.
He says, you know, Alibaba and the 40 thieves, these Arabs. So he goes back to folklore that the Alibaba stole our gold and never brought the US dollar.
This story tells you, a lot of people, they're still saying RBZ was better than Munangagwa, or Munangagwa is better than RBZ. It's nothing like that. Both these guys are the same, they're just doing something. You see, Munangagwa was inspecting 1.2 tons of gold in the RBZ. That's a jug. That's a laughing matter. How can a president just walk into the RBZ to show off 1.4 tons of gold for a great nation like Zimbabwe? That's exposing us to the world and showing that we are without anything. So the same did President Munangagwa, the same did President Robert Gabriel Mugabe in his time. He allowed the RBZ manager, the RBZ governor, to ship the gold out of the country to show the Arabs. And then later on, he comes out and starts throwing jokes like, the Alibaba stole our gold. What's that? Should keep all this in mind, not to judge people like saying RG was better than Munangagwa or Munangagwa is better than RG. Both these guys are the same. We need a new president, a new change, a new team in place. We can't be talking about the same people changing their jacket and come in and tell you, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do. They're just putting us in circles. You know what President Idi Munangagwa, he understands what has happened to the bond note. He was there. He was coaching it, and it failed. Now he's coaching the ZIG to fail again. But fortunately, Cris Mutsvangwa has already given a prophecy. Mr. Munangagwa is called Mr. ZIG. So we know the ZIG is going to crumble in just a few days or few years. So Munangagwa is the sign of Munangagwa failing.